I can't take it. I'm getting stir-crazy. Cabin fever. Cock-a-doodle cuckoo!
Calm down. You're making me nervous pacing around like that.
I just can't take being detached from the world.
I can look into the database and see what's going on in the world. Would that help?
Well, give it a shot.
Let's see. Some politician named Wiener gets caught showing his hoo-hoo dilly. Again. U.S. election is a meth lab dumpster fire. Actor Gene Wilder passed away.
Wait, what did you say?
Meth lab dumpster fire?
Gene Wilder died? Jesus.
You know him?
You don't?
It seems I don't.
How do you not know Gene Wilder? He's Willy Wonka. He's one of the greatest comedic actors ever lived.
Willy Wonka? I thought that was Johnny Depp.
Can you pull movies up on your database?
Depends.
Depends on what?
Whether it's relevant to the episode or not.
Bring up Young Frankenstein. I'm gonna school you!
It's hard to argue there's a movie that inspired comedy more than Young Frankenstein, in the same way that the original Frankenstein inspired all of filmmaking. Virtually every angry mob scene in The Simpsons can be attributed to this moment.
To the lumberyard!
One thing you see in Wilder's performance is his style centers around playing everything he does straight, being true to his character. He had the gift of being naturally funny.
I would wait backstage for my girlfriend then. We weren't married yet. And Gene would come back and say, "Why are they laughing at me?" And I said, "Because you're funny." He said, "But I don't intend to be funny." I said, "That's the best comedy in the world."
In Frankenstein, his character clearly inherited Victor Frankenstein's unstable temper and fiery passion. We learn so much about this character's feelings about his heritage by his actions, without any words.
It's pronounced Frankenstein.
But aren't you the grandson of the famous Dr. Victor Frankenstein, who went into graveyards, dug up freshly buried corpses, and transformed dead components into...
Yes! We all know what he did.
He pushes to remain civil, but it clearly gets under his skin. Screeny, play just the audio for the next 15 seconds.
I am not interested in death. The only thing that concerns me is the preservation of life. Class is dismissed.
It plays like classic drama. Now play it back with video.
The only thing that concerns me is the preservation of life. Class is dismissed.
That moment is hilarious. One of my favorites. But without the visuals, you'd take it as genuine and heartfelt. This dichotomy is the soul of Gene Wilder as an actor. But even in the most insane scenarios, you never get the sense he's playing to the audience.
Hand me that candle, will you? Put the candle back.
This guy certainly is a gifted performer. But you mentioned Willy Wonka before.
We'll get there, but first, let's watch Blazing Saddles.
As per your instructions, I'd like you to meet the new sheriff of Rock Ridge.
I'd be delighted. Wow! I've got to talk to you. Come here. Have you gone berserk? Can't you see that that man is a nit? Wrong person. Forgive me. No offense intended. Have you gone berserk? Can't you see that that man is a nit?
Many people point out that a movie like Blazing Saddles could never get made again. It's staggering to think that a movie made in 1974, a film that challenges prejudice and ignorance while poking fun at it, couldn't be done today, but it's absolutely true.
Hey, boys! Look what I got here! Hey, where are the white women at?
The premise is simple. An unscrupulous man wants to force a town off their land to buy it so he can sell it to the railroad company and make millions. He can't scare them away, so he thinks of the next best thing. Send a black sheriff to disgust them so much that they'll leave voluntarily. Cue Wilder's pitch-perfect entrance into the movie.
Are we awake?
We're not sure. Are we black?
Yes, we are.
Then we're awake. But we're very puzzled.
No actor ever brought humanity to their comedy the way Gene Wilder did. This scene brings true pathos to something that could have just facilitated the punchline.
I don't know if you ever heard of me before, but I used to be called the Waco Kid.
The Waco Kid. He had the fastest hands in the West.
In the world. Oh, well, it got so that every pissant prairie punk who thought he could shoot a gun would ride into town to try out the Waco Kid. I started to hear the word draw in my sleep. And one day, I was just walking down the street, and I heard a voice behind me say, "Reach for it, mister." I spun around, and there I was, face to face with a 6-year-old kid.
Look at the hurt in his eyes. Do those eyes tell you Wilder is in a comedy? Or does it show you a man that's spent untold years in personal torment?
Well, I just threw my guns down and walked away. Little bastard shot me in the ass.
But that truth of character doesn't hinder the joke one iota. In fact, it makes the laugh that much stronger. Some actors could have pulled off the heartache. Some could have pulled off the gag, but I challenge you to find another person that could achieve both perfectly and in such effortless transition.
That was pretty great.
Now let's finally get to Wonka. This certainly isn't Gene Wilder's most dramatic performance, but for most it's his best known. The plot is basically about a poor boy who gets a tour of a candy factory that defies logic and reason, as if it runs on a child's wonder. The boy, Charlie Bucket, is one of the 5 children that get to go. The other children are basically personifications of the modern world's worst traits: avarice, gluttony, and using entertainment to completely disconnect from reality. Even though Charlie is who we spend the most time with, the star of the show is Wilder as Willy Wonka. He doesn't even show up until the second half of the film, but it's one of the most unforgettable roles in movie history. Wonka is talked about only in hushed tones for a long time. We're given the backstory by the protagonist's grandfather.
To steal Mr. Wonka's secret recipes, especially Slugworth. Oh, that Slugworth, he was the worst. Finally, Mr. Wonka shouted, "I shall be ruined." Closed the factory. And that's just what he did. He locked the gates and vanished completely. And then suddenly, about 3 years later, the most amazing thing happened. The factory started working again, full blast, and more delicious candies were coming out than ever before. But the gates stayed locked so that no one, not even Mr. Slugworth, could steal them.
The notion of this larger-than-life figure in the candy industry is built up to such proportions the entire world is fixated on him. Watching this movie over and over, you start seeing how he's playing into each character's fatal flaws while seeming to agree with them. He knows before the tour even starts that most of these kids will fail. He doesn't push them into failing, but he gives them just enough space to prove themselves unworthy.
What is this, Wonka? Some kind of fun house?
Why, having fun?
It's so hard to pin down this character. Most actors who shift in delivery as drastically as Wilder would have failed to make the character seem cohesive. He's temperamental, loving, absent-minded, cynical, and altruistic, depending on the moment. But you never doubt that this is a character true to himself. He is the very definition of whimsical. He is Willy Wonka.
I'm starting to understand why you slapped me.
The snozberries taste like snozberries.
Snozberries? Who ever heard of a snozberry?
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
That's in my database. It's a poem. Ode by Arthur O'Shaughnessy. We are the music makers.
And we are the dreamers of dreams. wandering by lone sea breakers and sitting by desolate streams. World losers and world forsakers, on whom the pale moon gleams, yet we are the movers and shakers of the world forever, it seems. With wonderful, deathless ditties we build up the world's great cities, and out of a fabulous story we fashion an empire's glory, and o'erthrew them with prophesizing to the old of the new world's worth. For each age is a dream that is dying, or one that is coming to birth.
Wow. You knew that by heart?
I did. I do. It's important to me. Throughout the movie, we've seen a shadowy figure approach each kid. Charlie finds out this is Slugworth, Wonka's rival. He promises any child that brings him an everlasting gobstopper $10,000. Most of the kids clearly are intending to do this without a second thought. But Charlie, who supports his entire family with his after-school paper route, is given the most reason.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You stole fizzy lifting drinks. You bumped into the ceiling, which now has to be washed and sterilized, so you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
You're a crook. You're a cheat and a swindler. That's what you are. How can you do a thing like this? Build up a little boy's hopes and then smash all his dreams to pieces. You're an inhuman monster!
I said good day!
Come on, Charlie. Let's get out of here. I'll get even with him if it's the last thing I ever do. Slugworth wants a gobstopper, he'll get one.
Mr. Wonka?
So shines a good deed in a weary world.
Charlie.
My boy.
Gene Wilder should and shall be remembered as one of the most beautiful souls of Hollywood. His last few years he suffered from Alzheimer's. He hid himself away because he didn't want anyone to be saddened by him. He didn't want to make even one person on this planet sad. No one could deliver such subtle nuance while shouting at the top of his lungs. No one could be as funny as he was, as effortlessly as he was. He is one of the all-time greats. And he should be remembered as such.
I didn't know this hit you so hard. I'm sorry.
Nah, it's not that. It's just, it reminds me that there are people out there who, I wish I could reach out to them, but I can't.
I'm sorry there's nothing I can do about that.
Even if I was human back home, there's nothing anyone could do.
I don't understand.
There's some back home that don't want to hear from me. That's largely my own fault. Sometimes you try to fix something and you just make it worse. If I'm being honest, I complain about being trapped here. But really, I was trapped long before all of this.
Look, if there's anything I can do.
There is one thing. Can we watch the movies again?
King is gone, he's not